Welcome back to episode 76 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. As always, I'm here with Troy. What's up, good buddy?
Not much. I am back at home after the Toronto Spring Sports Card Expo. You are still making your trek home, so I feel for you.
Yeah, we have quite the different travel stories, and we'll get into that in a minute. But this is our kind of now becoming, well, you call it a second time a tradition. We'll call it the start of a tradition where we do our Expo recap episode. Not your typical Gong Show podcast where we do tons and tons of research because, well, number one, we want to give our reactions and tell our stories from the Expo. And number two, like Troy said, you are at home, but I'm still with my 17-year-old son making my way back to the state of Minnesota. Right now, just about 20 minutes ago, Troy got to our hotel in Rockford, Illinois. Our only goal today was to get west of Chicago so that tomorrow when we finish the trip, we don't have to deal with traffic on the way home, and we should be scot-free from that perspective. I think we're still 5 hours away from home. So who had it worse today? Us having to drive, well, was it 9 hours to get a little bit west of Chicago, or you having to, what time did you have to wake up this morning?
I didn't even wake up this morning. I just stayed up, and my Uber came at 2:30 a.m. because I am a dummy, and I'm like, all right, I'll be the good guy. It says get to the airport for international flights 3 hours ahead of time. So I get to the airport right at 3 a.m. Flight is supposed to leave at 6:04 a.m. Of course, security's not even open. They didn't even open the security doors until 3:30 a.m. So that was kind of interesting, but I got in, got through everything. I was done through customs, all that stuff, and I still had like 2 hours left. So I just hung out by the gate and sat there. I was really tired, really bored, but quick flight from Toronto to Minneapolis, hour and a half. I was home by, 8:45 a.m. and I went right to bed. And then I woke up in the afternoon.
So, well, this is news to me. You didn't even go to bed last night. You just stayed up.
No, I just stayed up because I'm like, I know if I fall asleep, there's always that 5% chance, even though I'll set 5 alarms, that I'll just won't do it. I'll hit them, I'll turn them off or something, because when it's really short on sleep, I've done that before. Not all the time, not even like, it's maybe 9 out of 10 or 1 out of 10 times where I somehow turned my alarm off. So I was so scared to death that I would oversleep the alarm. I just stayed up.
So were you just dying when you were waiting at the airport for because you said you had 2.5 hours before your flight?
Yeah, I was pretty tired, but a little adrenaline kept going. But once I got home, I just walked in, said hi, right upstairs, and went to bed.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so first thing that we could compare and contrast, I guess, from the Fall Expo, which was our first trip to Toronto, and the Sport Card Expo, is we stayed in a hotel. Do you call it a hotel? I mean, is it?
At the Fall. Yeah, at the Fall Expo, that hotel, we'll call it it's a hotel in name, but it was. I mean, it was a building. It had rooms. It did its job, but I would not recommend it.
Yeah. So we switched it up and stayed at an Airbnb. Now, okay, Troy. So what's your compare and contrast to hotel versus Airbnb at the Sport Card Expo? Did you like the Airbnb thing, or are you going to vote to go back to hotel this coming fall?
I think I like the Airbnb thing. I think if we want to do that again, we probably need to get closer. It was like a 20-minute drive. Personally, I'd probably do hotel as close as possible, but then you're going to pay more. You're going to pay more. So it's a balance thing. I will say the Airbnb was so much better than our last hotel. It was nice to come home and we had a little apartment to go to, and you could go to your room and all that interesting or all that stuff. Even though hotel, we each had our own room, obviously, but it was nice. I could live with the Airbnb, just need to be closer, or a hotel closer.
Well, kind of the theory too at the Airbnb was that we would have a place to hang out. And I think what we underestimated is we were so exhausted by the time we got back there. Between the three of us, myself, you, and my son Sam, we were just like, all right, we're going to bed. So there wasn't a lot of hanging out anyways. So I don't know, maybe opting to stay a little bit closer to the International Center in Mississauga is where the expo is, might be a better move for us. So I don't know, any other travel stories on the way home? I'm trying to think of, I can tell one today. So we get to the border, and I don't know if there's something going on right now, but the U.S. border agents were being very, very thorough today, Troy. Like they had people checking in trunks of cars, and then you have to go in your car in a line, and then they pull you up to the, I don't know, the agent stand or place. And the guy in front of us, like, or the car in front of us, the guy got out, the agent, he was like on the ground looking under their car and stuff like that. And so I'm like, oh no, like, what's going on here? And it took forever. But anyway, so we pull up there and I'm kind of coaching my son this whole time because trying to like educate him. He's 17 years old. Like, okay, here's what you got. Don't have your AirPods in. Don't make stupid jokes. Do not do that. We pull up. The guy's very nice. He, of course, asked like, well, where were you? What were you doing? I told him we were at the Sport Card Expo. And then he must have saw that our hat. And the guy starts to tell me all about his hockey card collection.
Oh, nice.
Right, we're at Windsor, crossing the bridge into Detroit. And so he's telling me about these cards that he has signed from when he was a kid of Red Wings players. And he's like, I don't think they're worth much. And I'm like, well, it's not just about what cards are worth. You got to enjoy collecting. I'm just like, he goes from interrogating to basically giving us the story of his hockey card collection. So I thought that was kind of cool. But other than that, pretty smooth sailing towards the Rockford, Illinois here and into our hotel.
Yeah, that was a lot different than mine. My customs experience was, I totally forgot. You do all the U.S. stuff now in Canada. Like the U.S. Border Patrol is in Canada when you get to the airport.
Oh, really?
And all these people in front of me are going and they're getting stopped or they're getting questions asked. I can see what's going on. Finally, it's my turn and I'm like 10th because obviously I was there so early. I walk up, the lady looks at me, she goes, okay, where are you going? I go, Minneapolis. She's like, thank you, Mr. Troy. That was it. I mean, literally 5 seconds of interaction. Showed her the passport. She said, ask me where I'm going. And that was good enough for her. And I was in. Everyone else stayed like a minute or so, or a minute to 5 minutes. I don't know what I did. Maybe it's because I got pre-check or they knew who I was, or I don't know what's going on.
All right, well, let's get into the expo itself. So, like, if anyone that's followed us would know, and we've already mentioned it, that Fall Expo was our first ever trip to the Toronto Sport Card Expo this past November. We were blown away, and so excited to go back and be a little bit of an Expo pro. I think like Jeremy Lee had said to me this weekend, like if he counted up the days of his life that he spent at the Expo, he spent like 90 days total there. So of course we're not that much of an expert, but we at least had the lay of the land a little bit. And so I was excited about that and really to compare and contrast, what the differences between the Spring Expo and Fall Expo are. And would it be a lot worse or would it be better? I had no idea. The other thing we did different is went a day earlier this time. So in fall, we were there Friday and Saturday and then traveled on Sunday. We went Thursday this time and were able to get there, both of us, for the preview night. That was kind of cool, huh, Troy? Just to be able to walk the hall, get a early look at, really some of the best cards. And the biggest thing is not hordes and hordes of people, huh?
Yeah, that was the best thing about Thursday is there's just not a lot of people there. I've still got to figure out how many days is good for me because I felt completely exhausted going to Sunday, even though I left Sunday morning. And I don't know what you do. Like, is it Thursday, Friday, leave Saturday night? Or is it go Friday, Saturday, Sunday? I don't know. I feel like the 3 days is my limit. And even though it was travel day on the 4th day, I was still just exhausted. So I don't know. Maybe there's something I can do there or just toughen up and deal with it.
Yeah, so I think it was 4:00 when it opened on Thursday for do they call it VIP night or preview night? I can't remember
preview
exactly.
Night or something.
Preview night or something like that. Most of the tables were set up, I would say like 90%.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good from that perspective. Like I said, you got to walk through, not a lot of people. It was a great time to have more conversations because as we'll get to Saturday, by that time, there's just hordes of people. Yep. And it was a lot more chaotic throughout the whole International Center. Parking was a lot easier showing up on Thursday night. Where in fall, because not only did they have the Sport Card Expo, of course, it was like some sort of, as I know in Canada, you call it cottages. We call it cabins. In Minnesota, some sort of cabin life or cottage life. And then there was it a bridal convention too, Troy, or something like that? I don't
know if it was bridal or there was something else going on. We'll just say there was like two other events besides the Sports Card Expo in the fall. And the parking lot of the whole place was full. We never saw that with this because I think the only thing going on was the Sports Card Expo. And then that Friday, I think I'm going to get the name right. I think it was EID for the Muslim faith had their EID day where I think it's the end of Ramadan. And so there was a group doing something on one of the convention halls, but parking was nowhere near as bad. The whole other side of the parking lot where you don't park for the Sports Card Expo was empty the whole time, which was awesome. Where last fall that was packed. And like we've said before, we barely got in on Saturday to the main parking lot in the fall because it was filled up. They had to shut it down.
Yeah. So Thursday we parked right by the door, got in, got our wristbands. It was a breeze. And here's, as I reflect, why I am disappointed in myself on Thursday night. And I gotta figure out how to focus at the stuff on cards earlier, because right, the whole point of going for that preview night is you get the first crack at this stuff. And I was just not at all focused. I was more interested in going around talking to people on Thursday night and barely paid any attention to the cards. And as I really started to do that more and more on Friday and Saturday, it occurred to me, Troy, that, boy, it's particularly for the cards that I was really looking for. It's I wonder how many of these got snatched up on Thursday night. And if I would have adjusted my strategy a little bit, I may have not have missed out on. It's one of those you'll never know the answer to. But here I'm thinking the whole time that I'm not going to be shell-shocked again, because I was shell-shocked day one when we went in fall, and it happened again. I don't know what happens to me when I get to that place. I just go into overwhelmed mode and just walk around and don't know what to do.
Yeah, well, and I don't like crowds and people, so Thursday was pretty awesome because there was not a lot of crowds and people. Even Friday, I don't think was bad at all. Saturday, I got a little claustrophobic at times, but I still can't figure out if I think Saturday was about the same busy as the last fall expo, less busy, more busy. I don't know. It seemed like a lot of people, but I'm still so tainted by how the parking situation was in the fall that to me it just seems like there was so many more people there, but that's just because there was 2 other conferences going on at the place.
So we go on Thursday, and for me, what's again is unique is I'm with my son. Sam is he's a funny kid. He's a wheeler and dealer. He likes basketball cards. My daughter likes hockey. I can't get him. His running joke was he was going to go ask anyone if they had any sweet Matt Dumba cards. I don't know why, but we're in Minnesota, and he thinks it's funny to say Matt Dumba. I don't get it. But anyway, and I had, because he came along, I'd given him most of my spending money. And so he goes and takes off. Troy and I are walking around. We're kind of soaking it all in again. We're talking to a few people. What was it, 2 hours later, he comes back, Troy, and he's spent all the money.
He's like, I haven't spent all my money. I got no money left. All right, Sam, we got to have a talk, I think. But I think he actually did pretty good.
Well, he had to go into wheeling and dealing mode because I told him, I ended up giving him more money on Saturday, but I'm like, all right, dude, you're just going to have to wheel. And he had his little case with them and on his backpack, and he has no fear and did a whole bunch of deals. And I don't even know if they're good or not. I'm just kind of letting him do his own thing, but it was pretty amazing to have him at the expo. And he was a good age because literally Troy and I would be trying to hang out with them, and then he would just disappear.
Yeah, he would be like, I'm done with you guys, you old men. Get me out of here. I'm going to go run around and talk and do deals.
Yeah, he just did his own thing the whole time. So he has no money as of Saturday night. And then as of Thursday night 1. And then I think about, was it 8:00? The show closed. And for the first time, because we weren't there in time in November, we went to Jeremy Lee's networking event at a local sports bar, I think called Jack Astor's, I believe is the name, that I think Jeremy's thrown. I don't know how long he's done it, but I think for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, what an amazing event. It's really awesome. And I don't know how Jeremy does all this stuff. Where does this guy get the energy to?
Yeah, he had a lot more energy than we did at the end. He was still flying around.
So he had to he had to fly in and then get everything set up. He's representing Tag at the show. He's got his booth at the expo. He hustles out of there to go to Jack Astor's, that place. And there was probably, you think 50 to 75 people maybe there.
I mean, we took up the whole side room that they have there.
Then he leaves there right a touch early and does the PWCC premiere auction recap show that he does every month with Adam Gray from PWCC. So he said till 2 a.m. and then he's back at the expo on the next day. It's like, I was just tired just thinking about what he did, but what an amazing event. And so I want to give him thanks for putting something like that together to get a lot of people from the hockey hobby in particular in a room and dining and chatting. And he really sets it up in a way that encourages people to mingle and to get to know each other. And Jeremy's the perfect host, bringing people together, making connections, and being a great ambassador for Hockey Cards. I just thought that was amazing. So then we go back to our a little bit too far away Airbnb. After it was like 20 minutes, something like that, so it wasn't terrible. And get up early, get ready to go, and kind of hit the show running on Friday. And for some reason, Friday is a blur to me. It's like I have more vivid recollection of Thursday and Saturday, so you might have to fill in some of the blanks to missing pieces for me, Troy. But the one thing, though, that did strike me a little bit on Friday was it felt like attendance was kind of light, especially compared to fall.
Yep, I'd agree with that. And that's maybe expected.
Did you have that same observation too? Yeah.
Definitely had that same observation. I didn't think Friday was crazy. It makes sense, though. It's a work day, all that stuff. But I thought it would be a little more busy than it was, but it wasn't. And I think Friday is like the real first day started asking questions of like tables of what they're seeing, who are people asking about, having more conversations just with tables and almost standing there for maybe a little bit too long with them and getting information. But it's good to see those interactions and watch a table, how they deal with people and see what's going on.
I had to go back to the parking lot thing real quick because I think I was kind of fighting trying to understand how attendance compares from spring to fall by the fact, again, that there were all these other big conventions in fall. And so the parking lot was so chaotic. And we pull into there Friday, and it just seemed like there were half of the cars there. Now, again, there's 2 other big conventions. So how many of those cars were for the other conventions? And so maybe that's why it seemed a little lighter. I guess, I don't know. But you're right. It did provide a great opportunity to meet and talk to people. And I guess one of the things that I noticed between going back to comparing fall to spring is I felt like, by and large part, most of the same people were there and most of the same companies were there. Was there anyone there in fall that wasn't there this
I am a horrible person to ask that to, but unless I actually talked to him and found out. But everyone I remembered from the fall was there this show too. That's how I kind of equated it. I remembered there's specific tables during the fall, and they're all there during this expo, the spring expo we were just at.
I do feel like, though, Troy, that particular vendors and not just big companies bought bigger or more booth spaces. There was so many, I think, more dealers that had very long, like almost like 6 or 7 like booth spaces in a row.
I'll tell you what, the one thing that we did recognize was the second hall. So there's the main one, which is a big conference hall. Then there's a hallway and a connector that there's tables set up in there. But then you get to the other hall where they have the autographs and all that. But there's also vendors set up there. That hall definitely was not as many vendors as last time, as in the fall. The spring one, they definitely consolidated in it. I don't know, maybe they had a half to 3/4 of what they had in the fall. I don't know exactly, but it was definitely smaller over there.
They had that big F1 racing exhibit.
Yeah, that took a bunch. Yeah,
that took up a bunch of space in that second building. But that's where I kind of found all the cards I bought, though.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm going
to take a step back. When we say the F1, that was in the fall. They had the F1 thing.
Yeah, that was in the fall. I was just saying, though, like that's where I found a lot of the cards I bought. Was in that, I don't know, am I like a second building kind of a guy? Is that my thing?
Hey, maybe, if people don't make their way over there right away, there's always stuff for the pickings. I'll say this, there was some good tables over there, for sure.
By Friday, too, we got to start to meet a lot of not only just other content creators, but other listeners from the show, especially. And that was one of our big objectives. So a couple of them were, we met Seth, who is and Seth, we can't remember your Instagram name. We just looked for a half hour. We're dumb. So sorry. We apologize. Seth is a big Ottawa fan. We met him at the fall show. We hung out with him a lot. We got to hang out again this weekend. He gave us some cards again. Right, Troy? And here's what I'll say. I want to be clear to anyone that's listening. We had so many people give us stuff this weekend. Number one, thank you again from the bottom of our hearts. And everything that we were given, we love and are going to cherish. But people, you don't have to do that, right? You just listening and supporting. And, when people are kind enough to come up and tell us how much they like our show, you have no idea how much that means to us and how good that makes us feel. And that's all we ever need. And so unless you just want stuff, Troy, maybe you're going to disagree.
No, I mean,
give me your cards.
No, I say exactly the same sentiment, but I am starting a collection. Like I'm going to have them out on my desk of the ones that people have gave us, because these people are so thoughtful. Like, they just give us Pekkas, and we'll get into some. They give us Pekkas, Mike Bossies. I'll wait till we talk about Top Shelf Cookie Sniper, because there was a great one in the middle of his. But yeah, they give us just awesome stuff. Yeah, again, like Josh said, definitely not needed. Just if you tell us you love the show or you hate the show, just that you listen to the show, we're so happy. But again, thank you to everyone that reached out and wanted to meet, or we got to meet and talk to. It was awesome.
Want to give a couple more shout outs to listeners that we met. There's a gentleman named Quam who was working at one of the booths. He lives in Toronto. He was so nice.
Yes.
He gave me a card that I will cherish forever, and I want to thank him again for that. But just said really, really nice things about our show. And honestly, it's conversations like that, Troy, that make the experience amazing for me and put a lot of juice in my batteries to keep going and to keep working hard for everyone, and to work harder and have better content and better research and better data. More interesting topics to talk about. And so I want to thank him. We ended up hanging out quite a bit with a couple guys, Phil, who's Loud Collector.
Yep.
He is an up and coming YouTuber. His video, you guys got to go check out he's just starting. His YouTube videos are so good. Honestly, he's got a wonderful personality. He's very funny. And I think he's going to go big places. And he was hanging out at the Slab Sharks booth a lot, which we'll talk about in a second, with another gentleman named Sylvain, who's super nice, and really enjoyed meeting him. Now, I know he's he kind of lives in the Atlantic area of Canada and is a dealer at a lot of local shows there. What did he call that region again? I forget.
Why do you ask me these things? I can never remember it. And
Coastal Atlantic or something like that?
It's such a cool name, and maybe I'll think of it as we go.
Troy, don't you know you're the vice president of remembering things on the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast? No, but so we hung out with those guys a lot. We had a ton of fun. On Friday night, we ended up going to watch hockey after the show back to Jack Astor's because we have no creativity. And my son, because we were at the networking event there the night before, as we're pulling to the parking lot, he's like, Dad, can we just not stay till 11 tonight?
Sure.
And what do we pull out at 1?
Yeah, we won't stay. We won't stay till 11. We'll stay till 1:30. Are you happy, Sam? Okay, I found it. I remembered it. The Maritimes. That's the name of
Maritimes.
The Maritimes. Let me interrupt here quick. I also want to give a little shout out to Quam, because if people remember in the episode of the card I was looking for, the one that was had a 0.01% chance, it was a 1971 serious Swedish hockey card with my buddy's dad on it. It's the only hockey card he ever had. Quam is making it his mission to find it, and he's got a lot of connections. And I was blown away by that. And he just is like, this is my goal. At the Fall Expo, you're going to have this card. I'm going to find it or figure out a way for you to get it. So that was really, really nice. Didn't have to do that. And the compliments he gave us were outstanding. I mentioned Top Shelf Cookie Sniper. He writes in 88, Top Shelf Cookie Sniper 88, writes in a lot of questions to the show. So he's been mentioned many times. He gave us a lot of awesome cards, like Pekka Rene Auto. That was amazing. A Mike Bossy. But then, and we didn't open them right when he gave them to us. We were like, I don't know where we were at. We waited until we got back to the Airbnb, and we're going through it. And we slide the card. And near 3/4 of the way to the back, Ryan O'Reilly autograph. And I almost lost it. I'm like, man, even our listeners O'Reilly us. So that was fantastic. I appreciate that card. We will cherish that. I don't know who's gonna have it on their desk, but that is just fantastic. And again, like Seth too. Seth, all his cards had some kind of little connection that he gave us. So I'm at a loss for words sometimes when I think about how nice people are to us. I really am.
If our show is only ever known for one thing, and that is getting O'Reilly'd, that would make my life would be complete. That would make me so happy. And if any copyright lawyers listen to this, is there a way? Because I always think of the O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Yeah.
You know how they have that commercial, O'Reilly?
I don't know.
If we could find a way to go,
have no clue what we're talking about either, so.
I suppose.
They might have O'Reilly's. I don't know.
But if we could find a way to have that O'Reilly but have a D on the end.
Yep.
Where when somebody gets O'Reilly, that would just make me so happy. And the last guy I want to mention is our good friend Dave, who we met in November as well, from Nonstop Dave on Instagram. I think he's going to be an up and coming, what do you call show guys, guys that run on card shows. He just did one that kind of knocked it out of the park and is looking to do his second card show. And I think he's in the Brampton area.
Well, plus with him, he was one of those. Yeah, he's one of those original. He was supported us for a long time, right? I remember getting comments from him or messages, and that it's so good to keep in touch with people like that, and I really appreciate it. And I remember from the Fall Expo, he was the guy in the audience giving me the thumbs up to say talk louder on a panel. I was like, oh, thank God you were out there, because I'm staring down and peek up. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Keep saying about his shows. I interrupted.
I think I was done.
Oh, okay.
I felt kind of bad because when we really saw him was last night at trade night. Troy and I are just done. We've been going nonstop for 3 days, talking to people. My son he has no money left, so he's in wheel and deal mode and wants to go to trade night. And so we be good podcast hosts and go and Dave was there, and we didn't even bring our cards with us because we were just so tired at that point. But it was nice to chat with him, and Seth was there too, so that was great. I do, though, to kind of wrap up people we got to meet. I want to say, number one, if we forgot mentioning you, we're really, really sorry. It's hard to keep everything straight.
I need to bring a pen and paper, and write down everyone's name, because I have a horrible memory. I just do not remember stuff like that.
So I do want to mention one person, and the only thing this entire weekend that I didn't like is my fault. I'll take the blame, Troy, because I was the main Instagram correspondent. Was a gentleman named Adam was at the show on Saturday with his son, and they wanted to meet us. And we kept trying, and we kept missing each other. So he would message me on Instagram, and here's where we are. I wouldn't see it till half hour later, and then say, "Oh, sorry, I missed it. Where can I meet you now?" And then I just couldn't keep my phone in front of me because more constantly was just talking to people, and ended up missing him. And I feel horrible about it. And I'm really, really sorry. Really bums me out, but we're going to send them something. But I just wanted to officially say on the show that very, very sorry that we didn't get to meet you. And if you're there in fall, I will sit an entire day in a chair and just wait for you to show up. Again, apologies there. Okay, we're kind of all over the place, so sorry. This is why our shows are very organized normally, and this is a very scary experience for us, Troy, because we don't have our show notes or anything like that. But I did forget a big thing and a huge theme of the entire weekend: going to Tim Hortons.
Oh yeah,
and holy, and of course, and I don't know if they would plan this. Maybe they do, but their 2023 Tim Hortons Legends cards just came out. I think anyone in Canada knows all about Tim Hortons cards, or do you call them Timmy's or Tim's, or I don't want to
I know I'm going to say something.
Say the lingo.
I always thought it was Timmy's. I thought it was Timmy's, but then I started thinking of the Timbits that I tried for the first time, the little mini donuts.
Oh, Sam got those today because after having yours on the way home,
those are good.
We had to get those. He's a big fan. So, anyways, 2023 Tim Hortons Legends come out on the 17th, and we were there. Driving there on the 18th or 19th or something like that. Yeah, we stopped about 80 times at Tim Hortons and had to load up on the packs. And if anyone's in the US that's never been there, never had the opportunity to buy the packs, it's $1 Canadian if you get a drink. And then I think any other pack you just buy is $1.99 Canadian. So you could go and you could buy as many as you wanted. I was buying 10 at a time. Well, first of all, I'll say I really like the set. Even the base cards are super cool. Wow. I like the cards. I like the cards a lot. And there's some hits in there too. There's some inserts, I think, Best in the World is one. There's what is it called? Lenticular, the in motion ones that I forget the name of it right now. But man, if Starbucks sold hockey cards. Holy cow.
Yeah, I need to.
That would be bad.
That would be really awesome. But I need to give an apology to our friend of the show, Louie, who, of course, when we buy these Tim Horton cards, we immediately start ripping them open. And we, of course, didn't save any.
Like in the car.
Yeah, and I didn't see Louie. Louie had sent me a message, and he lives in Minnesota, and I know him personally. So he's like, hey, if you get any, or if you can get me a couple packs, I'm like, sure. And that was Saturday night, and I was like, I'll see if I can get some. But then I left at 2 a.m. But I did go to the airport Tim Hortons, but they looked at me like I was like space alien. They had no clue what I was talking about. So I was like, okay, I'm sorry. So Louie, I have failed you on getting you some packs of Tim Hortons cards, and I apologize.
And we did hit one of the nice like chasers or inserts, best in the world, Nicholas Lidstrom. So that was kind of cool. Really like that card, and I've been doing some pack opening videos on our Instagram for that. So again, had to mention Timmy's. Okay, now let's transition a little bit to our observations on just the show, what people had as far as like cards and wax. Well, I'll make this part easy. Is they have everything. Like, is there something that you that you thought of that I can't find here that I want to see?
I don't think so, because when I went into the show, it's like I wanted to find the vintage or really study the vintage, where last time I was so overwhelmed and we didn't know a lot, the history of the vintage cards. And so I found there was tables exclusively of the C55, C56, the Parkers. And those are the ones like I just sat there and stared and went, those look really nice, but they're out of my price range right now. So I will figure something out at a later date. But yeah, everything, I don't think there was anything I really saw. I mean, even though I will say this, I didn't see a lot of Matty Beniers. Like, I wasn't looking for Matty Beniers, but I can't remember seeing him a lot. I just probably glanced over him when he was there. I'm sure he was at a ton of tables. You don't need to tell me he was at all these tables. I just thought it was, it didn't stick out to me. Maybe I blocked him in my head, but lots of cup. I mean, even I was looking, I looked for Pekka cards, Pekka autos that I don't even remember seeing last time, but there's a ton. I found a bunch. I will say this though. I actually didn't buy any nice Pekka patch autos or anything for dealers because no one would move on their pricing. And they were extremely overpriced. The ones that I did see and talk to the people, they would be like $120 or $80. And that's Canadian, but they're nowhere near that. And I'm not going to way overpay for them. So I'll just wait, and they weren't that rare. They weren't that rare that I couldn't find them on eBay or something for cheaper. But I did go through dollar boxes and scored a bunch.
You've been buying Pekka so long where you have a pretty good idea of what the prices are and all this stuff too. So that's always helpful when you have your main PC guy and you've got that lay of the land. So when you walk up to a table, that you kind of can gauge where they're at from a price perspective. Yeah. So as far as like what was there, I think they had just about everything going back from pre-war cards all the way to the ultra modern cards. If you've never been to the Expo too, I would say it's 80% hockey. Is that fair?
Very fair.
So it is hockey heaven.
I would say this. I thought there was a lot more non-sports cards this time than I remember in the fall. But that's,
really?
Yeah, I thought there was. Maybe I just missed them last time because I was so overwhelmed. But it did seem like I found, 6 to 8 booths of non-sports card stuff that kind of geeked my interest.
Yeah, so if you're a vintage hockey collector, and like I said, it starts with the C55 and C56s all the way up to the new, there's boxes of SP Authentic there that people were ripping, and really anything in between. The one thing, though, that I will say that I did find kind of interesting, and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but ever since Frank came on and Frank Porco did our masterclass on mid-90s inserts, I've been kind of obsessed. I'll admit. I got the bug.
Yeah, you found some good ones.
And you had to dig from them. I did find some good ones, but you had to dig from a little bit. That's like the one thing that maybe wasn't just so readily out there, where it was like you couldn't miss it. If you want a Wayne Gretzky rookie, you can find one at every table almost. So you have the pick of the litter almost, where it was a little tougher, but I kind of like that challenge and that chase anyway. So I didn't mind it. It's just more from an observation standpoint.
I would say, talking about what you're looking for, that's when you get really annoyed when the dollar boxes just say hockey and that's it. Like they don't separate them out at all. I really do appreciate when people take the time to separate, even by team, by player, by era. I don't care. I know they're not going to have everything perfect and they're going to get mixed up and stuff. But when you get down and there's like, 10-row box that just says hockey, it's like, all right, here I go. And you just got to start going through it. And I always get a little nervous too because you got all the old timers start crowding in because they want to look too. And I'm trying to grab and then I'll back up. I try to be nice about it. I'll grab a chunk, back up, but then they'll go right for the same spot I was. And I'm like, oh, here we go. We're going to get all messed up. So I'll just put them back and come back later.
So kind of getting back to our timeline here. I think on Friday, I just mainly talked to people and hung out with my kid a little bit, which I definitely wanted to do. And I really tried to make an effort to do that, but talked to a lot of dealers, and I'll get to that in a minute. That's where we connected with a lot of our listeners, and which was, again, an amazing experience. We had 3 of the 4 masterclass. What do we call them?
Professors.
Maestros.
Professors.
Oh, there you go. Professors. You have Jeremy, of course, who we hung out with a good bit and was incredibly kind as always. You have Mitch Grotman we got to meet in person, who is even a better in person than just chatting through text message or when we record through Zoom, and really, really enjoyed meeting Mitch. And he was there with K-Sits Reed, who's a super nice guy as well, even though we're at odds right now, him being a Dallas fan and us being a Wild. Okay, so did we win or lose? We're taping this right in the middle of the Wild.
No, we lost. It's 2-2 now.
Makes it exciting, but now my blood pressure's up. Thanks, Dallas, for that. Yeah, I just talked to a lot of people. You, on the other hand, did, and I knew this was coming because this is one key, and I don't know if it'll be like this at all time, but right now, wax is so much cheaper in Canada, and Troy loves wax. So that is a recipe for lots of boxes being bought. And you can go through, well, we'll just talk about the SB Authentic box that we purchased to do some of our pack opening videos. So everything we've seen in the US is in the $250 US to $275 range, but probably closer to $250. We got our box for $250 Canadian dollars, which is, what did you say, Troy? Like 190 equivalent US?
180, 185 that came out to.
$65 cheaper. Holy cow. You pretty much went in because you don't know Troy. You know he likes to buy boxes. And per usual, the man of 1,000 collections, you bought stuff other than hockey too. We bought some hockey boxes, but you were finding deals galore, like ridiculous deals. Like what was the Fleer Marvel one?
Yeah, I'll take a step back. Like I swear this, I don't know why this is one of my favorite things to do is walk around and find pricing of wax and just start comparing every table to every other table to see who has the absolute cheapest prices. And there's a product, it's Fleer Ultra Avengers, and it's an awesome product. The cards are sweet, they're thick, my kids love it, so I'm like, I gotta get a box or two for this. And in the US it runs around $400 US dollars on the online retailers. And I'm walking around, I found $385 Canadian, that's cool. I started walking around some more. All of a sudden I found a table that had it for $300 Canadian, which is now is at $221 US dollars. Remember, 400 US is what you can get them in here. And now I'm sitting at I just said 221. Was that what I said? I can't remember. 221. And so I talked to the guy, and then I asked if I bought a couple boxes, would he drop the price 20 or 10, 15 more dollars? He said, sure. So then I was able to get those, and it was super cheap. And I think my kids will be happy to rip those. So that's going to be fun. And then there's some baseball boxes that in the US are like $130. And there's one product my son loves, 2021 Topps Chrome Platinum Anniversary Edition. I was getting it for US $80, $70 at some tables. So that's what I did. I went around and found some cheap wax. But my best score was a sealed box of 1995 Mallrats cards, because I love Kevin Smith. I love Kevin Smith movies. And I found that, and I was just in heaven after I found that. But Hockey Card Show, great. I did buy a bunch of Pecorines, though.
Yeah, you did buy a bunch of Pecorines. The card that I love, and it wasn't really even that expensive, that I found on Friday is a 95 Select Mirror Gold Jaromir Jagr.
Oh, it looks awesome. It looks so cool.
I just noticed too, Troy, because I'm just zoomed in on the card, and there's a protective film on it that I didn't even notice.
Oh yeah, I saw that because it says peel, right? It says you can peel it off. Yeah.
Maybe I should look at my own cards better. But that was kind of my one hiccup. I gave most of my money to Sam, so I was happy to get that on Friday. And then Saturday was packed. So Saturday felt like the Fall Expo to me.
Yeah.
And there's just lots and lots of people there. And parking, again, wasn't terrible. So that was nice. Not just Saturday, but going back all the way to Thursday in asking dealers about their show experience. Well, especially I would say Friday and Saturday, there were no complaints from dealers. Nobody was saying, oh, I wish there was more people. They were like, this is going great. We were buying. Our friend Sylvain from Lashwine, who was at the Slab Sharks booth, he was exhausted. But I don't even know how he made it through today because he had people constantly wheeling and dealing at his and looking through his cards. And by and large, people were saying that everyone was spending. Looking at it from because one of the things that I'm always interested in when we go to the show is trying to get a read on the health of the hobby. And I really feel like the hobby is in a good place. It's been, honestly, Troy, if you look at the last month and a half and follow some of like the card ladder indexes and look at, we follow the auction houses pretty closely. Obviously we work with PWCC close, but we'll follow like Golden and Heritage too. And a lot of the pricing's been down. And so I was a little curious coming into the expo to gauge from the dealers how people were reacting. If people were trying to offer half what they were listed, or they were wanting to predominantly trade. But the feedback was very consistent. And almost everyone said it's been awesome. That, maybe not the best it's ever been, but by and large, people brought their wallets and sure, some people are trading and some people are trying to do trade plus cash offers. But I didn't meet a dealer that was set up that was unhappy with how the show went. Did you get similar feedback to that?
Yes, I did hear that as well. And I feel like did you get the sense that there was more dollar transactions the first couple days and maybe more volume the Saturday, but less on the high value stuff being sold? I don't know. I thought I remember that kind of being a trend, but maybe I'm just making up my own trend that I was doing.
I think Thursday and Friday there was more money spent. One thing I was hearing from dealers is that it's the cards that were the sweet spot seem to be in the $100 to $400 range.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't know if they're speaking US or Canada, but I think though that's kind of a constant, right? That those are very easy cards to transact. And, not a lot of people have the money for the $5, $10, $15, $20,000 cards too, even though I'm sure a bunch of those were sold. Well, I did meet a guy who I think is familiar with our show. Gosh, I don't know if he would even want us mentioning this, but he had picked up a George Vezina rookie that I didn't ask him how much it was, but it was graded. I think it was like a 4 or 5. It wasn't $200. I'm telling you that. So I think by and large, the dealers were happy and they were moving cards. I asked a lot of dealers who buyers were asking for the most and heard I think there's a lot of Crosby and Ovechkin being moved. Ovechkin in particular, which makes all the sense in the world, given he's in the middle of the Gretzky gold chase. Of course, he had Wayne Gretzky cards moving, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares. We're right in the middle of the playoffs. So that added a little element to the expo that wasn't there, a little bit of a vibe. Was it Thursday night that the Leafs played? Yeah, it was Thursday night. And that was game 2 coming off of just getting drubbed in game 1. And here we are in Toronto wondering if the whole city's going to burn down if they lose bad again. I guess luckily for the vibe of the show, Toronto won game 2. And I know when we were at the Jeremy Lee networking event at Jack Astor's, people were pretty pumped about that. Are there any other players that you can recall that dealers telling us that people were asking about? I think Cole Caulfield was another one.
Yeah. Did you mention McDavid? I heard a lot of McDavid. People were asking about McDavid. We actually asked about Bedard every once in a while, and it seemed like maybe not a lot of people are interested right now because it's all World Junior like Canada cards and stuff. But yeah, besides that, we hit it. I mean, you could almost guess pretty accurately if you just thought about who the popular players are. Did you mention Tage Thompson? I think we heard Tage got a lot of interest.
Yeah, and that's one thing too that kind of really connected for me this time is, and I actually looked on the map and I didn't realize how close Buffalo is to
Yeah,
Toronto.
it's like right there. It
super
seems
close.
like it's super close. I agree. I totally geography fail on our part.
There was a lot of people that on the hockey side, Tage Thompson and even Dylan Cousins and Owen Power, Rasmus Dahlin, those sort of players, as well as even, this is not hockey, but there's a lot of Josh Allen, I think, interest at the show from an NFL perspective too. I think it's a good opportunity to now to say that I want to give props to Mikey Singer and his whole crew there. They really do a great job of, I mean, you think of like how many people come to the show from how it's set up to getting people in and out. It's really easy. You never feel, you can tell it's been there, number one, for many, many years, going back to Jeremy Lee saying he spent 90 days of his life there. And I'm sure they've ironed out all the creases from a logistics perspective. But I just want to shout out his team and their crew for making a really great experience. There's always food when you need it. There's bathrooms nearby. And even on Saturday when there's a ton of people, and I know it can get a little overwhelming if you're kind of the claustrophobic type or you don't do well in crowds.
There'll just be pockets.
But it doesn't.
Yeah, there's pockets where it can get for a little bit and then it opens up. Like when Upper Deck's doing a raffle drawing, I just have to like back up.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So Upper Deck, like they did in fall, and I'm sure they've done for a number of years, if you bought certain boxes of wax from certified diamond dealers that were set up as dealers, then what they do is they have gold balloons so that you can identify who that diamond dealer is, and you buy a box of wax and it qualifies for redemption. They give you a little ticket, you bring it to the Upper Deck booth, and they give you a Expo pack.
Yeah.
So the one big box that we bought, the SP Authentic, the geniuses we are, we bought it from not a certified diamond dealer. So we didn't get a redemption
cheap.
pack.
I'm sure there was some kind of I don't know what it is, but we found, I guarantee it was the cheapest box in that place, or the cheapest price for the new SPA. And then we started thinking about it. I'm like, no wonder they didn't have a balloon. So I found that kind of funny. Oh, keep going on Upper Deck. I was gonna say I should read through the Pekkas I picked up since she already did yours, but
we'll do. I didn't even get to all mine either.
Oh,
so
okay.
We'll do that kind of at the end here.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can bring it to Upper Deck. They had a big booth there again. Billy Cilio was there, and so we've, as anyone knows that's listened to us, we've had him on the show a number of times. He's a great guy. It was fun to chat with him a little bit and just to get to know him a little bit better. The interesting thing to me, though, about the show, and one of the things coming into it is I was wondering, like, would there be a big SP Authentic vibe with new Future Watch Autos coming out? And we did see some sprinkled in there, but I was watching as I was talking to Billy as people were bringing boxes with the green tickets to get their Expo pack for them, that it was more still Series 2 people bringing up than SP Authentic. Did you notice that as well?
I did, and one thing I did is I try to sneak off. Now, everyone, please remember, this is a point in time when we're doing stuff. I would try to stop over and look in the breaking area where people can open all their boxes. I saw Flagship all the time. Saw SPA a couple times. And again, this is me stopping twice a day, maybe for 3 to 5 minutes. Not an inclusive survey, but yeah, I saw lots of Flagship being ripped, even in the breaker area.
So Upper Deck, again, was there with the big presence. You had the grading companies that were doing on-site grading. I think Becca was charging like $150 for on-site grading, which is insane.
I'll say I was surprised they had a line. They had a big line too. Every time I looked, there was a lot of people over there.
I suppose if you wanted a big card to grade it real fast and flip, that I just don't know. $150 to grade a card is crazy to me, unless it's like I said, a big value card. We saw Jeremy Lee introduced us to the folks at Tag Grading, and so we had a nice conversation with them and got a in-depth overview of their approach to grading, what they're doing, and that was cool. Looking to learn about them more, and then our guys Slab Sharks, who we hung out with Karn and their crew at their booth a lot. They were killing it. I think this might be their biggest auction ever coming up. I do want to just give a little shout out because Karn sent me a message today, and I got to look it up real quick on our Instagram, but they just took in a huge card, I think, for the upcoming auction. Okay, Troy. So from the Cup, 2020, the Cup, a Kaprizov 101 rookie auto.
Wow.
This card is amazing, which it is, and I'm staring at it right now. It's a BGS 9 10 auto 101 rookie auto in the cup. Will be in this week's upcoming Slab Sharks auction.
Well, we will definitely watch that.
Be sure to check that out.
We have to see what that goes for, and if we have any listeners that have deep pockets and you like Kaprizov, go for it, and then let them know you heard about it on the Gong Show.
Yeah, so go to slabsharks.com, find the link to their eBay auction, and I'm sure it'll be listed shortly. And go ahead and place your bids. You got to break open your piggy bank, I'm sure, though.
Yeah.
I'm sure this one will go
pretty penny.
Pretty penny. Any other like corporate kind of booths or?
I still like that Tather displays and all the different displays. Even though I never stop in there, I go always.
Yeah, we've never met them.
Yeah, I do because I think they have really nice stuff. I think it's just going to be really spendy, and I'm not at the point yet where I want to start working on more display stuff. From other booths that I remember for a business side, Canadian Graders were there, PSA Canada, Beckett, eBay, obviously show sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had like Klaus and Chara.
PWCC was there taking submissions, another Gong Show partner. Shout out to them.
Also, we saw Mint Inc. was there. They had a huge presence.
Yeah, we met John from Mint Inc. I got introduced to him by our friend Eton Sports Car Cartel, another masterclass professor. Yep. I love that guy. His energy is so awesome. I never understand his Instagram, so put me in the pile of, they're just like way above me. But he was kind enough to make an introduction. And John, what an amazing story. And I know it's more local to Toronto, but it's a local card shop. I think they do breaking. John is a serial entrepreneur. He's got just an amazing energy to him. And I love the vibe of everything that they're doing. So shout out to them. We got to meet, again, Brendan, Coach Co, who is Eton and Cartel. They have the Cardboard Coaches podcast, which is one of my favorite podcasts. And so we got to do the panel with Jeremy, and we should talk about that in a second, and Brendan. And then another big dealer, Josh, Hit 'em High Sports Cards.
Hit 'em on High Sports Cards, is that right?
Hit 'em on High. Sorry, I always forget that. I apologize, Josh, if you're listening. He always has amazing cards, and he gave a lot of great info, and he's very gracious and lets me ask him a lot of questions about kind of what people are looking for and buying and what he's buying, all that sort of good stuff. So it was great to see him at the show as well. Should we talk about the panel real quick?
Yes, we are going to talk about
terrifying
the pile,
for you and me.
But we got to do it right. We got to do Josh right. Hit 'em High Sports Cards is his Instagram. So it's hit _ EM _ HIGH _ sports cards. I just want to make sure we get that right, because that one I knew I could find real quick because we were close. I knew we were close. Yeah, let's talk about the panel. Panel was fun.
We were lucky enough again to get asked to do a panel by Mikey Singer and the crew at Toronto Sport Card Expo. So again, thank you to those guys. And had the opportunity to do a hobby talk on Saturday with Jeremy Lee and Coach Co. Thankfully, Jeremy moderated. I think that they stole the show because Brendan or Coach Co and Jeremy Lee, but it was fun. It's an amazing, it's just crazy to think, Troy, that a couple of neighbors from Minnesota started a dopey podcast, and now we're at the Toronto Sport Card Expo doing a panel with such great guys. And not only are they great content producers, they're just really nice people. And I've really enjoyed getting to meet them.
Yeah. And I'll say they help you succeed. Like, they want you to succeed. So that's the thing that really 100%. Helps me, because I get up there and I'm a wreck. Like, I'm so nervous. But once they start talking and they go with the flow, and you see how just it's second nature to Jeremy and Coach Co. They look so just relaxed, can answer any question. Kind of gives me a little more confidence. And then I open my mouth and I'm like, what am I saying? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was fun. It was quick, 30 minutes on the hockey hobby and some takes with what's going on in the playoffs and the NHL. And it was a lot of fun.
Well, they were pumping you for goalie information because everyone knows you're a goalie coach now. So, and you did good. You were getting all the goalie angle questions and why are players able to score now? Why are goalies letting in more goals and not playing as many games?
Don't be a goalie.
All that sort of stuff.
Be a shooter. Score lots of goals.
You could be the hobby goalie guy. Maybe that's how we brand you.
Hobby goalie whisperer. I know there's other people that are goalies. Everyone likes goalies. Mm-hmm. Goalies are awesome.
All right, we've been blabbing. So I think we should kind of wrap up with our personal pickups. And we kind of roll through some of those, and then we'll talk about our schedule going forward here
for sure
a little bit. So I mentioned I gave my kid most of my money, and then he spent it right away.
She is seriously blown.
I was just attracted to 90s inserts. Frank, you got me good. My biggest purchase wasn't that big. The card is like outside of, I'm looking right now, it's sitting outside the penny sleeve, which is making me all nervous, but I just like a card. I don't even know what it's worth. I didn't really comp it too crazily. It's an OPC Chrome for 1998. It's an insert called Puck Providers. It's a Wayne Gretzky refractor. It's raw. I think it looks really nice. I think I might really start collecting these OPC Chrome cards. I really, really, really like them. And it kind of feels like the precursor to OPC Platinum, which I don't know, for some reason that entices me. So I got one of those. I got an SPX Gretzky insert from, I think, 97 and a couple other small things. But honestly, I just gave Sam most of my money and let him have fun, because for me, the treat was having my son at the show. Oh.
All right. So what did you buy? All right. I have a bunch of P.E.K.K.A.s was mostly what I found. I've mentioned, I think, the other stuff like the wax, but I got a 2012-13 rookie anthology. So it's a Panini card, a silhouette that was the set. It's the silhouette card of Pekka Rinne from that set. Pretty cool. I love it. Got an awesome pose on it. I got the 2016-17 OPC Platinum Pekka Blue Cubes. Is that what I figured out? Yep, Royal Blue Cubes out of 99. These were awesome all in cards. Yeah, these are awesome. The OPC Platinums are great. And these were all in dollar boxes. And then I got a 2018-19 SP Game Used Pekka Rinne. It's the Skills Challenge jersey one where it says 2018 and the other jersey behind it. What's this one? Oh, I love these Crown Royals. 2012-13 rookie anthology hockey set by Panini again. It's the Crown Royal. Got a little, I think it's just a little jersey piece. But he's got an awesome pose where he's actually shooting the puck or passing it, and I love seeing that. It's something different. And then I got a 2014-15 Pekka OPC Platinum Red Prism out of 135. We like OPC Platinum. We like shiny. And then the last one I actually bought from Seth, because Seth found it in a box. And it is I want to make sure I get everything right, 2010-11 Panini Zenith White Hot Pekka Rinne out of 25. And so you don't see these around very often. And Seth was actually giving me the background of it. And it is a really sweet card. It looks awesome. Like, it looks really cool. So I bought it from him, and he gave me a very nice, fair, reasonable price. So I appreciate that.
That's awesome. All right. Anything that we didn't mention? Did we cover it all?
Well, we covered enough we covered all that we remember, I'm sure. Again, if we forgot to mention someone, we apologize. We need to get better at it. I think we did better at remembering this show than last fall. I think we were terrible. But if we did forget you, message us and yell at us so we can do better.
The only thing that has been a little tricky for me through this whole experience is I feel like disjointed from the routine of our show a little bit. And I'm looking forward to Thursday's show, kind of getting back into our rhythm. We've had like a couple of big things going on. The playoffs, of course, which was hard for us to see. That's the one thing I can mention about our Airbnb that I didn't like and I just didn't check on this, but they had a TV, but they didn't have like cable service. So to watch the games, so we couldn't come back and just turn games on at night. We had to go to a bar. And if we didn't have energy, then we were just refreshing our phone to see scores. So I feel a little disjointed from what's going on in the playoffs. And then also you had SP Authentic come out. And, normally we're right there. The minute it comes out, we're opening the boxes, we're feeling the cards, we're digging through the checklist. And other than checking a little bit of prices, I feel kind of out of the loop on SP Authentic. So on Thursday's show, we'll do a whole lot of playoff stuff and kind of the hobby impact there. We'll have our review on SP Authentic. We're planning on having Tony from Upper Deck on very soon. I got to get back to him to schedule that. And he's the one that built it. And from what my 2-second review is, it's a lot different. And by and large, I think it's a big improvement from last year. So I'm excited to talk to Tony about all the changes there. But I don't know, do you kind of feel that way, Troy?
Yeah.
That we're now, it was an amazing experience. It was so good from a networking perspective and friendship perspective. But I'm first and foremost a card data geek, and I'm ready to start geeking out again.
Yeah, I definitely do feel a little disconjointed with the show and everything, but I actually don't mind once every, we'll say, twice a year, or that we get this little break where we do something kind of odd, kind of switches the synapses firing in our brain. But I will say everyone is just, I know everyone can't wait for next episode, because even though this is episode 76, we're not doing a greatest NHL player to wear the number. We're going to double up next week. You're going to get on Thursday's show, you'll get 76 and 77. And just to give a hint, not a hint, I'm going to tell you who it is. 76 is PK Subban. 77, I think everyone should get Ray Bork. That'll be a fun one.
A couple defensemen, so maybe you can weave them in together a little bit. We'll make that fun. Again, by and large, what an amazing experience. I don't think, well, and I guess, boy, this is probably something we should definitely talk about as we wrap up, but I don't think there's that big of a drop off between fall and spring. I mean, if you had to say, I would say fall is a little bit better, but I would much rather have, but if there's only fall and you had to wait a whole year, that would be bad too. I think spring to me was 90+% of fall. It didn't feel like, oh, I wish this was fall. If that makes sense to you, Troy.
That's kind of how I feel.
The show was awesome.
Yeah,
I'm so grateful for it.
And I would say the one big takeaway I had is like, if I wouldn't skip the spring because you think the fall is going to be better. I thought spring was fine, and if that's when you can get there to go to it, go to it. It's awesome. Now I'm guessing the Edmonton show might be smaller. That the Sports Card Expo in Edmonton that's kind of tied into these. But besides that one room or hall having a little less vendors than I remember from the fall, it was still a busy place, lots of stuff going on. I would have no problem just going to the spring if that's what you can make and not feeling like you missed out. That's what my takeaway would be.
100%. So don't feel like it's fall or nothing. Spring is, I think you put it perfectly, Troy. Spring is really an awesome experience. And anyone in the US, or even if you're in Canada and you've just never been able to make it, I can speak more, of course, from the American perspective. There's nothing like it. Honestly, you cannot replicate even a tenth of that experience here in the US. If you love hockey cards and you have the means or the time and have just always wondered, is this worth it? It will exceed your expectations like you wouldn't believe. I don't even know. I struggle for words because I don't feel like there are words big enough to describe how amazing of an experience this is for a hockey card collector in the US, where when we go to shows, it's, the three kind of cases of hockey cards that are half hockey and half some random baseball player. And then that's what we get to look at. Where here it's every hockey card you could ever imagine in your, that are in your price range, out of your price range. I don't think I've ever seen a Wayne Gretzky rookie at a Minnesota card show. There's probably 3,000 at the Sport Card Expo. So if you ever wanted to buy one, it's like, talk about having an amazing selection to find that perfect card for your collection. So could not recommend the Toronto Sport Card Expo more, and grateful to have been hosted by Mikey Singer. And I think Steve is a guy who runs the show. I haven't got to meet him, but again, just an amazing experience. And I guess I'll end with that. Any closing thoughts from you, Troy?
Nope. I think you summed it up perfectly. It was a fantastic experience. I can't wait to keep going back every time, and I hope our schedules allow it.
All right. That is the Hockey Cards Gong Show for Monday, our special Sport Card Expo recap. Just a quick reminder, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a Patreon podcast. That means we rely on the support of listeners like yourself to help us cover our expenses, produce more and better hockey card content, be able to go to things like the Toronto Sport Card Expo, and support initiatives even in a small way to grow the hobby, like our Hockey Cards 101 or our Masterclass series. Right now, you can join our out of 99 support level tier and be one of the first 99 supporters of the Hockey Cards Gong Show via Patreon. You can also get exclusive access to our Hockey Cards Gong Show Discord server and chat with us and the rest of our, 90 or so patrons on a daily basis there. It's super easy to do. You can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, click on the Become a Patron link, or you can go to the Patreon website at patreon.com, search for Hockey Cards Gongshow. There's also a link in the show description for whatever podcast app you're listening to us on right now. And finally, in our Instagram and TikTok profile in our link tree, there's a link to our Patreon there. If you're not following us on social media, we are on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So go and follow us there. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures LLC. All right, everyone, we'll see you all on Thursday. Have a great start to your week.